Welcome to the Pulse with Peter B. I'm your host, Peter Biancamano. Let's get you to the pulse on everything you need to know. And folks, you're not watching our first 50 episodes. We are going retro because it is our 2-year anniversary here on the Pulse. And we want to thank you, the audience, for tuning in every week and making us North Jersey's highest rated, I don't even know if most highest was an even word there, but I said it, highest rated cable access program in North Jersey. Thank you so much. And joining us is His Sports Majesty, who's been with us. I think I used that one before.
You know what? I'm okay with it.
All right, cool. I'm recycling.
That's fine.
We're going retro.
I'll never get tired of being called a majesty. That's
exactly.
fine by me.
Exactly. And that's our sports insider, Matt Waymeyer. And Matt, we were talking off camera. You've been with us probably the last year and a half.
At least.
So you remember those old graphics that we just aired, correct?
The old studio, the old location, the old graphics. I mean, come a long way, baby.
We have come a long way, but we are using all that just to remind folks how far we've come. So
quite a journey.
Exactly. Speaking of how far people have come, how far has sports come, huh?
Man.
I mean, we literally had nothing for a long time, and now we have literally all four major sports. Well, hockey ended a few days ago, which we'll get to. But we had all four major sports going on at the same time.
Yeah.
And it was just insane.
Yeah.
But let's start with the Major League Baseball because their playoffs have started. Mm-hmm. I need predictions here, Matt. I need predictions. Now, we said, like, everybody made the playoffs except for those New York Mets.
And my Boston Red Sox.
Exactly.
We're in the same boat there.
Exactly. Some predictions. I mean, the New York Yankees are in, of course.
Yep.
They did win their first round AL wild card. What is it?
We were talking about this before the segment. Why is it called a wild card round if every playoff team is playing in it? That makes no sense to me. Think of a different name.
Exactly.
Wild card is supposed to designate a team that is on the fringe and you're trying to get into the real tournament. But if all 16 teams are playing, it's not a wild card.
I completely and utterly agree with you.
Weird.
And you know what? It really showed in those first few games because teams got knocked out right away.
Yeah. Two-game losing streak. Bye-bye.
Exactly.
Season over.
Bye-bye is right.
Yeah.
All right. So what do you see? I mean, Yankees now are taking on the Rays.
Yep.
I mean, they're kryptonite, correct?
I mean, at least in the regular season.
Exactly.
2-8.
Is a whole 2-8
against the Rays.
Exactly.
Regular season.
Do you think the Rays are going to come out of not only this series, but as the American League champions?
I'm going to put it this way: Rays, prove me wrong because I think the Yankees are going to win, and I say that because the kind of the book on the Yankees all year has been if they're healthy and if their heads are screwed on straight, they are the team to beat. Well, ask the Cleveland Indians if the Yankees are firing on all cylinders because it certainly looks like they are. Having said that, Masahiro Tanaka very shaky in Game 2 in that Indian series. He got knocked around pretty good. The bullpen knocked around pretty good. So the Rays are a team that can exploit that lack of depth in the rotation and the bullpen. Having said that, this Yankee team, when they are clicking, when they are healthy, when they're swinging the bats, I still think they're better than Tampa, and they could be the best team in baseball.
Wow.
When LeMahieu's hitting like he is, when Judge is healthy, when Stanton is coming through.
So it's not so much the best team, it's the hottest team.
Well,
I feel like that's like that in every sport, right?
It is. I mean, especially hockey. Hockey. Yeah.
Exactly.
So, I mean, the Yankees, they have the talent. That's never been a question. But if they hit a groove and they get hot, they're going to be a tough out for anybody, even Tampa.
So, and do you think that whoever wins this series is going to be the AL champion?
I think so.
Wow.
No disrespect to the White Sox or the A's or whoever else emerges from the other group of four. But I think it's the Yankees or the Rays pennant to lose.
Interesting. Yeah. Now let's talk about the National League.
Okay.
Dodgers. That's what I'm going to say. Dodgers.
Dodgers. Everybody else. Even though I would love to see. I mean, I'm really getting into this Marlins story. Mm-hmm. The first team to ever, or I don't know if they're the first, but if not the first, one of the first to qualify for the playoffs after losing 100 games the year before. It's a great story. I mean, especially with what happened to them with the COVID outbreak.
Exactly.
They got 17 players, I believe, hit the COVID list, if you want to call it that. They had suspensions of games for weeks and weeks. Had to make up a lot of ground. They had to come to Citi Field for crying out loud, up and back in 24 hours to play one game, which of course they won. It's a great story, and don't forget this: the Marlins franchise has never, ever in their team history lost a playoff series.
How?
That's true. They've only made it twice, and they've won the World Series each time.
That is fascinating.
Yep.
All right, so are they going to win the
97-03.
National League pennant then?
So if it's Yankees and Marlins, cool. Sign me up. All the Mattingly and Jeter going against the Yankees. Sign me up. I would love that.
All right.
Great story.
That is a great story. Let's talk about a sport that just ended, as you mentioned earlier, which was the National Hockey League.
Yeah.
And Matt, after getting that prediction wrong of the New York Rangers, you are on fire. You said Tampa Bay was going to win the Stanley Cup, and the Tampa Bay Lightning are the Stanley Cup champions.
Won the Stanley Cup.
And they were just a better team. I was rooting for Dallas,
Yeah.
I mean, but I was also rooting for McDonough and Shattenkirk because they were former Rangers.
Blue shirt South.
Exactly.
Is what Tampa was at one time.
Exactly. But no surprise there, correct?
No, no disrespect to Dallas. Great team, talented team, but I think it was pretty clear that the Lightning were head and shoulders above everybody else. And I think what helped them too, and we see this oftentimes in not just in hockey but across sports, if a team has an embarrassing or a heartbreaking or a crushing exit in the playoffs the year before, a lot of times you see them use that as fuel to the fire to come back the next year and take those next steps and win it all. What happened in Tampa last year?
They got swept by the Blue Jackets. That's right.
After not just great regular season and historic regular season done in 4 games by Columbus. And if you don't think that motivated them, well, I got news for you. I think it did. And when they had to get past Columbus again in round 1 this year, they did so in, I think, 6 games.
6, correct.
Smoked the Bruins, took care of the Islanders, and won the Stanley Cup.
Exactly.
So good for them.
I actually think the Islanders were probably their toughest test in this
I think
place.
so.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm not just giving a local flair. Speaking of a local flair, why don't we talk about the New York Rangers? They consistently make headlines, I feel like. They traded Mark Stahl earlier this week, I would say, or last week, to the Detroit Red Wings.
Yep.
But, of course, the big news.
Yeah.
They have bought out Henrik Lundqvist's contract. He had 1 year left at an $8.5 million hit.
Yeah.
I love you, Hank. I miss you, Hank. But it's time to move on.
It's time to move on.
Correct?
It's, like you said, big news, but not unexpected.
Correct.
Because the writing was on the wall from about the midway point of this past season when Shesterkin came onto the scene and really emerged as that undisputed top goaltender. Alexander Georgiev before him.
Solid backup, right?
Very solid. I mean, he could start. I think he's a starter for many other teams. I really do. He's not better than Shesterkin, but there's a lot of teams out there where I could see him plugged in as a number 1 guy, like Cam Talbot, who backed up Lundqvist for 1 or 2 seasons, I think.
And then he went over to Edmonton.
And then he went over, and he was a legit starter. So I see that for Georgiev if he's not going to be in a backup role here. But like you said, to see this era end with King Henrik, it's sad, but not unexpected.
Where will he sign?
That's a great question.
He will sign. He says he wants to keep playing, right?
And I think he will. What's going to be interesting is if he accepts a backup role, then it's going to be any number of teams in line for his services. If he only wants to start, that really diminishes his market. I don't know where he's going to – I really have no idea where he would sign. But, again, it's going to be dependent on what kind of a role he's willing to accept.
Interesting. Well, Matt Waymeyer, our sports guru – I called you Majesty and Guru at the same time. Really quickly, because there was some quick news in the NFL this week.
Yeah.
8 Tennessee Titans staff members, players, I don't even know.
At least 8.
At least 8 that we know of tested positive for COVID.
Yeah.
Their game against the Pittsburgh Steelers this week is postponed. When are they going to play that game?
Hopefully not for a couple of weeks at least. It's the right move to not just move it off a couple of days. That really doesn't accomplish much from a health perspective. They're following protocols, and hopefully if they stick to their guns, it's not going to be played, like I said, for at least a month. Safety first. We don't want another outbreak. It can't happen.
Exactly.
Bottom line, can't happen.
But you've mentioned this to me several times before. It doesn't mean that the NFL is in jeopardy because they want those TV rights money, correct?
Absolutely.
Exactly.
So the game will be played, but hopefully not anytime soon.
There you go. Matt Waymeyer, thank you. We look forward to having you on for the next 2 years as well.
Hey, sign me up. I'm always
exactly.
Here.
Hopefully
phone call away.
will change.
Or a text.
Exactly. Yes, you are. Thanks again, buddy.
Got it.
Folks, we'll be back. Peter Biancamano, your hostess with the mostest of the Pulse with Peter B. Folks, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at the Pulse with Peter B. and make sure you like and follow us on there. We're constantly updating that page with new information. And also on Instagram, for all you grammars out there, make sure you follow us there as well. We're constantly putting these really cool stories, previewing all of our episodes. And if you don't want to DM us through our Instagram or message us through our Facebook, you can always email us. And that's at thepulsewithpeterb@gmail.com. We look forward to hearing from you. Welcome back to the Pulse with Peter B. I'm your host, Peter Biancamano, and as you know since the top of the show, we are going retro for our 2-year anniversary, and somebody who has been with us, I still can't believe we haven't gotten rid of him. He's almost like gum on the bottom of your shoe, almost like a bird crapping on your shoulder when you're going out for a date, or you stepping in dog manure when you're going to visit your parents, and that's Josh Sotomayor Einstein.
Please, if you can
sir?
see me, please call the police. I've been kidnapped. I've been held hostage for the last 2 years. All right. This man who claimed he was part of the mafia took me and forced me to be here every week.
Wow, and he's getting stereotypical right away on camera.
You compared me to manure.
Anyway, speaking of manure, there's a lot of it in Hoboken city government, correct, Josh?
I'd say 99%.
99%. All right. So they passed a budget last week to city council. They claim that there is a less of a tax increase than there was before, but there's still an increase, correct?
Yeah, well, so
Go ahead,
the city council majority, which is in opposition to the mayor, was able to lower the rate of the increase in either regards. As much as I do like many people on the city council as individuals, I don't think there's any excuse in these trying times to raise our taxes. And I think they should have hunted for more wasteful spending, whether it's lawsuits, whether it's money they put away to, buy more land for more parks that we don't need, or whether it's money that they've spirited away to, to make more bike lanes that we don't need. I think they have an obligation to the taxpayer. And as much as I'm a big fan of certain people on the city council, I think this is indicative of the systemic failure of city government, no matter who's involved in our city hall.
It's across the board. It's across the board. We usually ask who can you point a finger to, whose fault it is. It's across the board. And it's just so funny because you have council members, and I'm going to name them, like Councilwoman Fisher, Councilwoman Giattino, Councilman DeFusco, who were voting for those bonds when former Mayor Dawn Zimmer put them up, and now they're the ones complaining that, we have to raise taxes because we have to pay back those bonds, correct?
Well, that's what happens when you pursue the kick the can down the road philosophy of governance, and it's essentially putting things on the people's credit card, and then shock, we have to pay for them. And there's a lot more of that to come in Hoboken's near and medium future that will probably continue to raise taxes, and if drastic measures aren't taken, and continue to chase people out of town because of affordability issues. And it's just funny also, these people, they raise the taxes or they bond, which is essentially raising taxes in the future, and we see it coming to fruition now. And then they also say, well, we need to keep Hoboken economically diverse. Well, if you weren't reaching in further and further into the people's pockets, Hoboken could be more economically diverse, or at least more than it is. So listen, as much as I do believe the council, shares the moral onus, the buck stops at the chief executive, and that chief executive is Mayor Bala, and before him it was Mayor Zimmer. So I think we have to, obviously the responsibility is shared between the two, but I think a larger chunk, maybe only 1% larger, but still a larger chunk, goes on the mayor's desk.
Well, and it's always funny where they're like, county taxes actually decreased this year, when for the last, 5, 6, 7 years, it has increased exponentially to the point where we're almost like getting our money back more than actually a tax decrease, correct?
Well, that's what politicians play games, with our taxes. They're like, this year the county's not going to rob us by nearly as much as it has before. So they're like, just be thankful, but be grateful that you're not getting robbed as much. And it's kind of a ridiculous situation, especially when it comes from the county, obviously when it comes from City Hall as well. but for considering how little we get from county government, and again, there's some very nice people in there. Nonetheless, we 100% get ripped off in Hoboken. County government doesn't even exist in all places in the United States because it's a relic of a bygone era. And really, if our council or our mayor's office had any balls, as the legal agency that is designated to collect taxes on behalf of the county, they wouldn't. Now, legally, there have been problems with municipalities in the past collecting money for the BOE or Board of Ed or the county and then spending it elsewhere, and that's a felony. You can't spend it elsewhere. But there's no legal obligation they have. It's not a felony to not collect it. So I would wish our city council would really go to war for the taxpayer and just say no to the county. But instead, they're content to play games with the administration and say, well, we robbed you a little bit less.
Well, and it seems to be a bit of a scam. And why don't we talk about scams? The Hoboken Business Alliance, which I think is one of the biggest scams in this town right now. And we spoke about this a few weeks ago, Josh. We spoke about how they kind of are ripping off business owners with the special improvement district tax. And in return, business owners got crappy flowers along Washington Street on one pole of every block on Washington Street.
And also really high up. So
really high up.
Most people don't even see them.
Exactly. And then they really didn't get anything else in return. They tried to take credit for street eateries. And why don't we talk about street eateries right now? Because there was something that was passed in conjunction with the scammy and scummy Hoboken Business Alliance regarding streeteries staying out in the wintertime with heaters. Josh, are you going to be sitting out there in the middle of January having a slice of pizza under a heater?
So I'm a Looney Tune, so I will, and I'll be alone because most people are not insane. I, however, am insane, as if you watch this show, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact remains, however, is that most people, 99%, won't be going outside in January to get a drink.
December.
Or December to get a drink or to get a slice of pizza or to eat some pasta, to have a deli sandwich. They're not going to be eating those things outside. They're going to be doing takeaway or they're going to be cooking at home. So this mythology that the Hoboken Business Alliance is pushing, it's not just them. It's also City Council and City Hall and also in New York City. De Blasio is pushing it. Oh, we can continue doing this until after the winter. It's like in the winter, no one is going to be outside, even with those space heaters. Because if you look at the type of space heaters, it's not like you basically have to hug the space heater in order to stay warm. And I don't mind layering up like crazy and having a good time outside, but most people are not going to. And then the people that come from out of town, because our eateries survive on out of town business, not the people that are here. I love the people that are here. I'm one of them, and I love me. But it's people that come from out of town to a town's eateries that keep it alive, and now there's less parking spots.
Right.
So I mean, whether it's the Hoboken Business Alliance or City Hall, they have no idea what's going on.
Exactly. But this is again the Hoboken Business Alliance. And by the way, Hoboken Business Alliance, the invitation is still open to come on this show and tell us what you do besides robbing businesses who need the money that you're taking from them to offset costs from the pandemic.
And if you're afraid of being with him, maybe apparently I'm not the heavy today.
Exactly.
So,
but also Hoboken Business Alliance, you went from business to business and you handed out this Hoboken food crawl application that you were telling businesses that it's free to participate when it's actually not free to participate, right, Josh?
They had to pay a tax.
They had to pay a tax, correct.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then you're offering a $10, offer for people who sign up for this crawl. It is, again, what's the word I'm looking for here, Josh?
BS?
Thank you. Didn't want to say it on air. Hoboken Business Alliance, why are you toying with ideas when actually you could benefit businesses by stop taxing them?
Yeah, let people keep more of their own money. It's pretty simple.
Pretty simple is correct. All right, Josh. Well, 2 years of doing this. Are you tired of me yet?
So tired.
Josh Sotomayor Einstein, thank you for joining us. We'll probably have a guest host back for him in a few weeks or
Thank
maybe
God.
next week. Or he said, thank God. I love that. Folks, we will be right back. Peter Biancamano back with you. Make sure you watch us on cable access every Sunday and Monday at 9 a.m. Optimum Channel 18, FIOS Channel 46, and COMCAST Channel 1 90. And also, every Sunday, 9:30 a.m., we post our new episode and our segments, our individual segments, on our YouTube page. You're not going to want to miss it. Please subscribe to our channel there. We'll see you there. Welcome back to the Pulse with Peter B. And we're still in our 2-year anniversary here. And our next guest has been, let's just say, here for the ride, but not so much in front of the camera. Greg, I don't know. I think you did one show where you were talking about a theater, correct?
Yeah, I was doing a plug-in for this one show that was like making its world premiere, but it never did because of COVID
correct.
reasons.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And I think you were probably in another show or not, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe making a cameo or something like that. I don't remember. But at the end of the day, it is Greg Schultz, the engine that keeps the Pulse running every week. You know, I'm the oil that likes to, light it, or ignite it, I should say.
Sure, if it was spilled from Exxon Valdez.
Oh, wow. You thought Josh and I used to criticize each other, but look at Greg Schultz. We talk about him a lot. He is our director, cinematographer, and editor on the show. Greg, thank you so much for 2 years of hard work. We really, really appreciate it.
Oh, I wouldn't have it any other way, man. This was a huge deal. This was the first time that I was allowed to grow, and I honestly wouldn't trade it for anything else. It's amazing how far we've come as just like a single show.
Wow, and I'm humbled by him saying that. And folks, not many of you know this, but Greg is really a one-man band. I literally, how many texts do I send you per week about the show? Give or take.
Per week or per day?
Let's give an average per week, because I don't want people to think I'm psycho. You know what I mean?
No, I'd say maybe like once a day. I'd say like.
Wow, that's it.
Well, the thing is, I feel like our communications have increased ever since we started getting interns or
correct.
production assistants.
That's correct. Yeah.
Because then the workflow is kind of doubled.
Exactly. Exactly. So, what many people don't know is we've started to get production assistants probably within the last 6 months or so.
Yeah.
So for a year and a half, it was all Greg Schultz. And, I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, I am a perfectionist when it comes to TV. I have been involved in television throughout my whole adult career since I graduated from Seton Hall University when I was 22 years old. And Greg can tell you that I am a perfectionist in many, many ways, and a lot of my anger gets steered towards this direction. On air, I steer it towards Josh Sotomayor-Einstein because he deserves it. But off air, it's all Greg, and I want to thank you for putting up with my craziness.
Listen, in fairness, compared to like where I used to come from, like if there was a problem, my old boss would say, "I don't care, get it fixed." With you, it's "I don't care, get it fixed, please."
Exactly.
So
and I am under the boat where I like to treat people the way I like to be treated, and I think I do that with you, Greg.
Absolutely.
And Greg has grown leaps and bounds since I've stole him from his last job.
I came running.
He came running, exactly. Thank you, because I was accused of kidnapping before, and I don't want people to think that that's what I do with people on the show. But Greg, why don't we talk about what a week on the Pulse, basically leading up to the show every weekend. A week in the life of the Post, let's just say. I mean, what? Go ahead. I'll let you go day by day here.
Yeah. Ever since we started getting production assistants on a semester basis, usually every sorry, my mask blew away.
This is live television. I can't believe you went to go catch that. He just wanted to make sure it didn't go into the water. By the way, this was a Greg Schultz moment, by the way.
Oh, compared to half the stuff I have to do.
Exactly.
Okay,
Anyway.
so usually Mondays, Peter will text me the topics for the week, and then I'll send them to our production assistants. And what they'll do is they'll create the text and sometimes the images for the social media posts that will go out on Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. And then on Tuesday nights, we get a weekly conference calls, we'll say, going over, what we'll do this week, how the episode will be filmed, and like just fine tweaking the social media posts. And then Wednesday, we double check their post for segment 1. Thursday is segment 2, Friday is segment 3, and then Saturday mornings at 12 o'clock or so, like, we film our episodes.
Yeah, we don't want to
and
tell people that, although you can come see us at beautiful Maxwell Place Beer.
That
We would love a live
I was
audience,
gonna
but
say,
it is
like,
COVID.
when have we ever filmed in front of a live studio audience? We're still waiting on that beat. 2
I know.
years, we still
2
have
years.
a live studio audience.
Goals. You
Yeah,
know what I
exactly.
mean? You know
Come
what I
on,
mean,
come
Greg?
on.
Oh, man, look, he's putting me on the hot seat now. After all week, I drive him crazy.
I think I've earned this.
Exactly. And by the way, we do want to thank all of our production assistants. It started with Maddie Nichols and Ronnie Jerez.
Yep.
Then followed with Nicolette Ayala and John Smith. And now, of course, we have Andrew Hanania and Karina Madrid. And they've all been excellent. And I think they've all been a big help to Greg.
Absolutely.
In the last 6 months.
It made a huge, it definitely made a huge difference. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, Greg, you said that you've grown in this position within the last 2 years. I'm just wondering any type of specifics in terms of growing from where you began 2 years ago with us to today.
I think part of it is the type of chemistry that I'm allowed to have, like, with the talent. Like, there's a fine line between goofing around and staying professional, but we're able to do it in such a way that it's not too crazy. And a lot of times he'll throw me under the bus by saying something that I have to do or something I have to edit or film, and I get back at him by putting something in the graphics. But I know when to stop. Like, I know that it definitely would not be cool to plug my own stuff by telling people to like my Facebook page, or I would never tell them to follow my Instagram or anything like that. That's not me, And the graphics are definitely not going to be at the bottom of the screen here. That's just not me. That's just not me,
Anyway, as the graphics are appearing, we're filming this a few days before he's editing it, but I know exactly what he's doing. And Greg, just I guess some of your background. I mean, you said that you went running from a previous position. We don't have to mention where that position was, but maybe where you went to school and what you do today besides the Pulse.
Yeah, so I think it started back in 2011, I want to say, like community college years, back when I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. Because I dropped out of performing arts. It just wasn't working for me, and I was just taking a bunch of random classes. And I remember this one class that it was like a multimedia class, and that was the first time I ever realized that I was actually having fun doing the assignment. It was just taking a bunch of pictures and making a video out of it, and I was like, wow, this is the first time I've had fun doing homework. Wow. And that's when I realized that, there was something more to like filming and editing, and I decided to go in that career. Then I started taking online classes and then got a bachelor's in motion pictures and television. And right now I am freelancing at SNY.
That's correct, yeah. The home of the
Mets, the New York sports.
Oh, he was close. The Mets, Jets, and all things New York sports. That's I've only been there for 4.5 years.
I was going to say, yeah.
And I know you're doing good things at SNY. I hear from your managers all the time.
Thank
so
you.
keep up the good work over there.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I'm not paying them. I'm not paying them.
Exactly. And, it's just so important. I cannot stress this enough, how much Greg is an integral part of this show. I mean, he really is. All those graphics that you see in the beginning of the show, he actually goes out and films those. When we're talking about restaurants, half the time we're sitting in front of a green screen. This is not a green screen. This is legit a beautiful view here in Hoboken.
Just double checking, because
exactly.
sometimes even I don't know.
I mean, and Greg goes down to restaurants that are sometimes an hour and a half, 2 hours away from his house to film interior shots and exterior shots. And we can't thank you enough for doing that. And we look forward to another 2 years and beyond, buddy.
Oh my God, absolutely. How about 20 years, guys?
I
let's
don't
keep
know
it
about
happening.
that. And I just got to
say,
admit, something here. Greg and myself, and probably Josh Sotomayor Einstein, we're kind of like the three musketeers. We were here from the beginning, and we're still here now. And moments that we can't stand each other, and we talk about each other behind each other's backs, but different story for a different time. But, at the end of the day, we still love each other, and we work as a collaborative group in order to make this show so great. Thank you so much, Greg.
Thank you, man.
Absolutely. All right, folks. 2 years in the book. And guess what? We have a new show next week, so you're not going to want to miss it. Join us next week for The Pulse on everything you need to know. Have a great week, everybody. Take care.
The Pulse with Peter B. is a proud partner of Eyes on NJ.